Welcome, everybody, to Summer in Vegas here at our new home on Spreaker.com. I am Mark with a Q. I am your host. And it being at the end of October and Halloween, it's only poignant for us to have these two guests on with us today. Later on, we talk to 9-year-old actress Chloe Perrin, who has two horror movies that are currently out on demand, Itsy Bitsy and Mary, where she is co-starring with Oscar nominee Bruce Davison and Oscar winner Gary Oldman, respectively. Our guest at this time, you may have heard on some of your favorite commercials, as well as some of your favorite shows, because this is October, and for most of you may not know, but this is Blind and Low Vision Awareness Month, and my guest has really tried the campaign for the idea of being able to have audio descriptions along with those very famous voices on a lot of your favorite movies and TV shows. He's done it for some of the great films and movies such as Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, Jurassic Park: Forgotten Kingdom, Spiderman: Far From Home, Glass, NCIS, many different other shows and movies. We have Roy Samuelson on with us right now. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great service to be able to have that. I think some people aren't very aware of the fact that blind cannot see what action is going on in the background. They get the nice character voices and to be able to get a description of the story, but they're only getting part of the picture. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I think a good analogy with disability access is buildings now are required to have ramps for wheelchair users, and in a similar way, when it comes to movies and TV shows, there's visual elements that the producers and directors want their entire audience to experience, and audio description is one way to get a form of that to blind and low vision audiences.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're only getting part of the picture, when just hearing the actor's voice or being able to, be able to say what they're going to say, but not seeing what they're doing. I mean, acting is a whole body experience in terms of the actor. I mean, it's not just about their voice, also about their body language and all that as well. I think I've taken some acting lessons, and it's about business, what they call business, which is the act of doing something with their hands or being able to do something as well. So I think it's a very important task to be able to fill that whole picture and all that as well. So it's great to be able to see you kind of advocate for that. Obviously, this is something that you've done before. I mean, how's it been for you to be able to do something like that where you can describe what the action is?
I've done about 400 or so TV shows and movies, and I just recorded one this morning. And the what I call the dance between the script that I'm reading, because the script's pre-written for me, and watching the visuals. I happen to be a sighted narrator, and hearing the production, that it all comes together in this. It's almost like a duet or a dance where I'm writing the existing TV show or movie in a way that kind of brings the emotional content along with the visuals, and there's a subtle way to do it. I'm not performing it in the sense that you'd see a typical actor, but I've got to tell you, I'm still blown away by what you said earlier about business, that most of my examples with audio description is giving the visuals, and I've been fairly general, but this is the first time that I've recognized that, yeah, this is enhancing the actors' performances for blind and low vision audiences, and I'm kind of still struck by that. So thanks for sharing that with me. That's a really great example. But yeah, so the audio description is kind of like listen to a baseball game on the radio, that you're getting the play-by-play of the TV show or the movie.
Tell me a little bit about the process that you go through in terms of when you get a script. I mean, sometimes it might be a cold read. Sometimes you'll get something right in front of you that you can take some time with. But that process, can you kind of go through that with us?
Sure, and there's always going to be possibilities for the future. As it is right now, most of the work that I do is cold reading. So I'm given a script, and then the engineer hits record, and the audio description director keeps tabs on me and make sure that I follow along. So it is pretty ice cold when it comes to the reading. But my process has been kind of based on the last, maybe 10 or 20 years before that, in the same way that you're taking acting classes, that I've taken acting classes and improv classes and voiceover classes that helped be able to contribute to the skill set that I think an audio description narrator needs, and that is cold reading and making sure that it comes across in a way that isn't too flat, just like a very boring history teacher back in junior high or high school, and it isn't too engaged, like somebody on the side of the football stadium just shouting with words written on their shirtless torso. There's this fine balance, I feel, that is important, specifically for our blind and low vision audiences, to be able to fully immerse themselves in the story, so that my work is bringing alive the story and not putting a spotlight on my work as a narrator.
Just thinking about the years of experience that you've had in terms of getting your voice right, to know when to hit certain points. Like you said that you don't want to be a boring history teacher, but yet you don't want to be a raucous fan either. But just knowing the balance and the pitch and the rhythm that you have in terms of your speech. I mean, over the years of experience that you've had, just looking over your career and to be able to have those skills, what does that mean to you? And kind of tell me that little development of being able to listen to yourself and to be able to fine tune your instrument, as it were.
Well, sure, and I'd love to start by saying that it doesn't stop. That I'm still learning. Even today with the session, I found some new things that I can do that I've never tried before. So it's constantly picking up on cues, both literally and also for what the script that I'm reading is asking me to do, and finding a way to bring that to life in a way that's suitable for not only our audience but serving the story. So part of I'll go back to some of the other references in a little more detail. The improv classes have kept me going with voiceover in my career for quite a while, outside of audio description as well as with audio description. Those classes in improv give a vitality and a character and intentions that I don't think I would have had elsewhere. The acting classes that I've taken, and I'm sure you'll share in this experience with yours, that when it comes to doing business and doing business, excuse me, you know what I mean, not show business, not financial calculations, but movements, whether you're on stage or on set, they have to come from a place of intention. They can't just be, well, the script tells me to go right. What's the intention? What are you trying to do in that character, in that world? And that goes for narration as well. So improv and acting, and then also the voiceover specifics, the technical side. I've produced a few projects for audio description as well as some audiobooks, and that, along with some experience in the post-production sound side, has shown me a different light. Instead of just looking at it from the person that's speaking into a microphone, seeing it from the other side and seeing the edits and the mix and the other qualities that have to come together. So there's so many different elements that contribute in this kind of, I hate to say it, synergistic way that allows for audio description to be what it is. It's not just a one-person show by any means.
Yeah, and kind of going into the business and going into, in terms of the audio portion of acting, like you said, there's a thing that, that we learn called beats, where, you got to hit a certain beat, or you have to, say something, and even silence. I think between silence and, saying something is important, and timing has a tendency to be a huge part of that as well. So yeah, it's interesting, just to hear what goes into everything. Everybody thinks that acting is relatively easy. It's not. There are certain things that great actors do, and some of the first things we learn is business, being able to move our bodies, but also the fact that during your voice that there's certain beats that we need to hit, and there's certain times where a silence is needed or something like that too. It's just fascinating to be able to kind of dive into the audio aspect of it.
And with that silence, I love you bringing that up too. This goes back to compliment the great audio description writers, the people that take an existing TV show like NCIS, or you mentioned some other movies as well, like Glass and Spiderman: Far From Home. That these movies are fully produced with visual effects and audio effects, and it's an almost complete show. And to bring access to blind and low vision audiences, the writers of these audio description scripts have to find the places, usually in between dialogue, to be able to share what's happening visually. And it's really tempting for some newer audio description writers to want to give as much detail as possible. And that's impossible. If you think about a picture's worth 1,000 words, there's 24 frames a second. That's 24 pictures. That's 24,000 words per per second of film. And you multiply that by a 90-minute movie, and we're in the millions, multi-millions. So the writers of these audio description scripts have to be really careful to make sure that they're given the best brushstroke that they possibly can within that time frame, as well as bring that silence, which can be incredibly useful as an actor, to be able to let the script breathe. And the good audio description writers are able to give the narrators that space, and they just don't go back-to-back description. They let it, based on the emotion of the scene, based on the beats, be able to breathe.
Also, it kind of, ramps up the anticipation and suspense as well. I mean, it's why it's very important for that to happen. I mean, if you're watching a movie like Spider-Man, there are moments, and you can see, next time you watch it, there are moments where there's just silence for maybe 1, 2, or 3 seconds, because you're anticipating something is going to be happening, and then suddenly it happens. And that's intentional. That's to make sure that suspense is there and all that as well. I mean, it's great to be able to do that, and I think some people, I think they just don't realize that that's the possibility. So, I mean, it's great to be able to have stuff like that as well.
What a great point about suspense. And that works for comedy too. That works for drama. That there's, in many different genres, that space that you're talking about. I think, I think you used the word space, like within those beats, that timing of silence is really essential.
Excuse me. I think it was in Men on the Moon when Andy Kaufman had asked the guru what was the secret to comedy, and he said silence. And then they go into the Mighty Mouse scene with Saturday Night Live, and that kind of puts to the point too that silence can be very important in terms of comedy as well.
Wow, yeah.
And speaking of which, comedy versus doing a drama, it's definitely a little bit different in terms of, again, where what kind of voice you have, what kind of things, tools that you bring out in terms of that as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that, doing a comedy versus maybe an action picture or a drama?
Sure, and I almost want to combine genres and talk about the movie Us, Jordan Peele's movie that came out earlier this year. That's a horror film, and it's got elements of comedy within it. And being able to pick up on those cues and deliver the lines in a way that doesn't jolt the audience out of the immersive experience that they're having. If things are super scary and I'm narrating it in a way that makes it seem like it's lighthearted and fun, that's gonna be as far as an audience member goes, that's gonna kind of jar them and say, wait, what? It kind of takes them out of the story. So what I try to do is keep the sense of the scene, whether it's suspense or comedy or drama or regardless, to follow that and be a part of that as best I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, again, it's kind of interesting to have different kind of projects and all that as well. Obviously, it's probably entertaining for you to be able to have, a variety of projects in front of you and different projects every day where, you could be doing something dramatic one day or something comedic the next, maybe a commercial one day or a movie or a TV show the next. I mean, how's that been for you to be able to mix up projects and to be able to really kind of, test yourself with different genres and different formats?
Oh, it's been great. And, a lot of the companies that hire me do keep me in they know what I can do, and they know that I can deliver on that. So they they know that that's the tried and true way to go. And some companies do take the chance and say, you know what, Roy, we can try you on this one.